Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, and I'm about 2 weeks out from my last frost date and about a month out from when I like to put out my tomatoes and my peppers. And today I'm just going to be showing you the last of my seed starting. I think it's been about a month at this point since I have last started seeds. For the last couple weeks, I've just been maintaining the seedlings that I had. I had to separate and thin out both my peppers and my tomatoes, and then I planted out the spring garden. I have a vlog up of me planting out the spring garden and news update there. I did get a confirmation that the potatoes are on the way, so in the next couple of days, I'll probably be planting out the potatoes. I'm excited about that. I didn't think I was actually gonna get to plant potatoes this year. I also went through and I had some of the garlic that I planted last fall still back into storage because I didn't use all of my seed garlic. And what was still usable, I planted out into the empty spaces where the garlic didn't come up. I did dig around before I put in more garlic, and it turns out that a lot of it had just turned to mush. I don't know if it's because those concrete beds just didn't retain heat well, or if it didn't retain water well, or if it retained water too well. I think next year I'm gonna try it in some of the metal beds. I know I've had success in those kind of beds in the past, so I'll go back to that. I don't exactly know what I'm gonna do with my garlic. If I can't get this second round of garlic going, I'm probably going to have to supplement by buying a lot of it from the farmer's market. But it's just one of those seasons, I think. Learning experience. I love my new beds, but at the same time, they don't quite work like traditional beds. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But today, for my last round of seed starting, I have a whole bunch of flowers that I want to start. I want to do a second round of lettuce. And then I've got some herbs and things and the eggplants that I want to separate out, and just so that I have some backups of those. For the flowers, I have things like Nasturtium, I've got some Calendula, and then I've got just random odds and ends that I thought could be fun. Some of these, it says that you're supposed to do it direct sow outside, but you know what? I feel like pushing the edge right now, so we're gonna try some of these inside. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do over here. I'm gonna start with planting out some of these flower seeds and see where it goes from there. So I'm gonna start with the nasturtiums, the calendula. I have at least 2 types of zinnia and a sunflower that I wanna start indoor. Normally, I direct sow those, but these are varieties that I've really wanted in the past, and they just haven't come up the way I like when I do my scatter method. So we're gonna try to start some inside. If it's a complete fail, it's okay. A lot of these I have a couple packs of, so nothing lost there. I am going to need my makeshift dibbler because nasturtiums, you do have to go a little bit down because they are a bigger seed. So each of these 6 packs, I'm just gonna do a different variety of. So the first one is this Bloody Mary mix. And I used all of mine up last year, so this is a brand new pack. And like I said, these are huge seeds. I'm just gonna, I might have to push those down further. I don't know if I got the hole big enough. That's okay. There you go. And the things that I'm planting in this tray, I've made sure that they aren't ones that need light to germinate, because the half tray are all going to be seeds that I need to put under the lights so that they germinate. And that was the Bloody Mary mix, right? Yes. It feels weird that it's been a month since I've started anything indoors. The last seeds I did was actually outside when I planted out the beets and the radishes. Okay, next we've got the Tip Top Rose Nasturtium. And I do really like nasturtiums. That is a big old stinking rock, isn't it? And I do lean more towards the pinker hues of flowers for obvious reasons. It's usually pink and white that I end up gravitating towards. I do like starting nasturtiums because the seeds are so stinking huge. And compared to a lot of the other seeds that I start the season with, it just feels so much easier. That was the Tip Top Rose. And then I have the Cherry Rose Jewel. I don't think I have any new varieties of nasturtium this year. I think everything that I am growing, I have grown in the past. I will say, I am pretty good at starting nasturtiums, but it's finding a place that they're happy with out in the garden that I usually struggle with. And a lot of times the flowers are the afterthought when I'm trying to keep things alive in the garden. So the prime real estate always goes to the food, which means sometimes the flowers suffer for it. And then the last nasturtium is, I'm not sure where that came from. Actually, this is actually new to me. It's the Tip Top Pink Blush. Forgot about this. You know what? This probably doesn't go with this one, but I'm going to use that tape for this one anyways. It might have come off one of the Calendula packets. I do have quite a few Calendula that I am doing this year. I do sometimes have it come back, but I haven't seen anything quite yet. So I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. So the first Calendula is a Bronze Beauty. Yeah, I think that's where the paper came from. Now these don't have to go down nearly as far. And I'm not double sowing any of these because I am definitely planting out more than I possibly need. So if one of the cells doesn't come up, that's okay. And if anything, I can just come back through and resow, which is why I am labeling exactly what each one is. And this is the bronze. Next up is the pink surprise. Get a little hole going. Oh gosh. I find calendulas are the flower that come back most often, at least in my garden. And then I have this white calendula. It's called Snow Princess. Like I said, I tend to gravitate towards the pinks and the whites. That and blue, but blue flowers are a little more rare to come by. It's doable, it's just harder. Really don't need all of these, but I don't know if I trust all of these seeds. Some of them look a little too anemic to be fertile. And because I don't want to put any of these seeds back, I'm going back on what I just said about only sowing one seed, putting an extra in some of these holes. I'm one of those gardeners where I put rules down and how I'm going to do it, and then I completely ignore them. That was the Snow Princess. We've got the Strawberry Blonde. Gotta close this packet first. And I guess these calendula lean a little more peachy and orange. I don't know if there is a true vibrant pink calendula. If there is, I haven't seen it yet. I have the last one that I haven't shown you yet that comes close, but it still leans more peach than a true pink. Oops. I don't want to put some of those bigger pieces on top of the seed. That would be not helpful. That was the strawberry. And the last one that I was just telling you about, like I said, the zeolites, it kind of runs pink, but from what I've seen of it out in the actual garden, it's a little bit more of those peachy to orangey tones. So if you do know of like a true pink calendula, would love to get my hands on that. need that many. Now I'm gonna switch over to some of my experiments. I am gonna tape this down even though it comes in a Ziploc, because I kind of destroyed the envelope, but that is okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna actually start with the sunflower. So this is called Gummy Bear. It's a dwarf sunflower, which is why I feel okay starting it inside. And if this works, I might do more dwarf sunflowers inside. Not this year, but maybe next year. I do love a teddy bear sunflower. Okay, I forgot to put the label on the zeolite. Got the sunflower. The first zinnia I have here is from a line of zinnias called the Cupcake, and this is the Cupcake Pink Mix. I have had these in my chaos sowing of zinnias for years, but I've never actually seen any of the plants that come up with that cupcake. I don't want to put these too deep. So I think I just want to rough out the top a little bit and just drop them in. They are a fairly flat seed. And usually, maybe in the middle of winter or so, when the zinnias that did come up have dried out and died back, I'll go out and I'll save seeds from what did grow, and I'll rescatter them with the new seeds that I purchased. Okay, that's Cupcake. I'm just gonna rough this again. Since the next one is also a zinnia, so I'm gonna do it much the same way, but this next one is actually going to be pelleted. At least it has been in the past. And this is the Pink Dreamland. This is a small zinnia. It gets maybe 5 to 7 inches tall. And I like to put it in front of my water fountain. It's usually where I scatter the seeds, but they're always so spotty to come up, and that has a little bit to do with my watering style. But see, they're pelleted. We're gonna see what happens if I start them indoors. I do have a couple packs of these because, like I said, I've always struggled a little bit to have them come up where I want them to come up. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move all these seed packets out of the way. Oh, I forgot to tape this one closed. so that I can put vermiculite down and then spray them in. Just going to do a light layer of vermiculite. Oops. Now I'm just gonna go and take this over to the heat mat. So this is gonna be a little bit more of my experimental tray because like I said, I've got a few things here that probably would do better if I direct sowed them. And then of course I've got a second round of lettuce, which it might be too warm to plant out when they're ready to plant out, but we're going for it anyways. I'm going to, what am I gonna do? Lost track of what I was doing. You know what? We're just gonna start. That's what we're gonna do. So this is a Pink Shades paper daisy. You can sow it indoors, but you don't wanna cover the seeds because this one needs light to germinate. Nearly all of these need light to germinate. I'm a little unsure if the Livingston daisy does, or if the Black Eye Susan does, but I'm gonna treat it like it does. Oh, those are interesting looking. They're like fuzzy. How fun is that? Just gonna put like, I'm gonna try and just like do 2 or 3. That's so weird. I'm gonna need to remember to use the lighter powered sprayer when I spray these in. I'm still gonna cover everything with a light layer of vermiculite, but so weird. I'm fascinated by these right now. Okay, next up I have the Livingston daisy, which I'm only gonna do after I put the label on, what was that one? That was the Pink Shades. Oh, and I forgot to put the label on the Dreamland. Okay, I'm back on track. We're gonna do the Livingston. Oh, these are super, super tiny. Yeah, I'm guessing. Because these are just as tiny as what do they remind me of? I'm trying to think. They specifically remind me of something. No, my mind is going blank. Oh, the Sweet Williams and the foxglove. That's what the seeds remind me of. Okay, and then, like I said, the Black Eyed Susan, this is a blushing Susie. Oh. I'm only got 5 seeds in this. I think I have another pack. Just gonna push that into the soil. Yeah, let me go see if I can find that other pack. So yes, I do have another pack. I thought I saw it. I had two. Get one in there. Really press these ones into the soil. I did not label either of those two. That's a black-eyed Susan. And then here's the Livingston Daisy. I'm gonna turn this around to do the lettuce. So this is the spinach lettuce. I just really like it from the first round that I started that I wanted to do a little bit more. See if I can get salads a little bit longer into summer. But I'm trying to be a little lighter handed than I am when I first start lettuce. Okay, that's the spinach. Okay, and then I'm going to do another round of the Butter King. And then I'm bringing out the little gem. I didn't start this in my first round, but I do want to start it for this second round. I got 2 seeds left. Let's just put it in there. These were packed for 2021, so I feel a little bit more comfortable overseeding a little bit. I have so many lettuce seeds that if I overseed, it's okay. Before I forget, that was the Butter King, and that was the little gem. We'll just put a light layer of vermiculite down. It'll be a little lighter on these two up in the corner here, but there you go. Like I said, I'm going to be using my sprayer that's not nearly as aggressive for this because I don't want those seeds to take off. Choose the wrong way to start off. Okay, so this one is going to go right underneath the lights. Here I'm gonna go on a little bit of a side quest. You were with me, at least some of you were with me when I started some of my Gerber daisies and Strawflowers. These are saved from flowers from last season. I don't know if they are viable or not. They didn't come up when I started them before, so I'm gonna do the paper towel method here. I'm gonna start by labeling. Okay, what I'm gonna need to do wet the paper down. I think that's enough. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna try and not send all of these seeds flying, but just lay them on the paper towel. I did get one straw flower out of all the stuff that I planted earlier this year. So I know it's possible, and I don't even know if this makes sense, but I'm doing it. And then I got my Ziplocs all wet. Oops. And if this fails, I'll just get some more at the nurseries. And I'm pretty sure a good chunk of whatever I have for the Gerber daisies is actually just petals. You don't know until you try, right? And I'll check on those every couple days or so to see if anything is actually happening. I honestly don't have the highest hope, but why not try? I'm actually just gonna let this sit on a heat mat. My last project is going to be separating out my eggplants. And then I've got this lettuce leaf basil that I want to split out into a couple of containers because honestly, I love the way it looks and I'm hoping for really big leaves. So I've got a couple containers, one of which is already labeled. So woohoo! Fill that about halfway. I need my tiny baby shovel. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, just pull out one of them, put it in the new pot, which I don't even know if you can see. And now it's got its own room to grow. I'll take this one right here and I'll fill in the soil that I just removed. Yeah, you're probably just staring at basil. So let me move this dill out of the way. Or is it cumin? This is cumin. So this is the next eggplant I want to separate out. This one's got bigger than I wanted to. I should have done this a little earlier. then I'll take this and I'll fill in the soil that's missing there. Now for this lettuce leaf basil, I'm guessing that this is going to be, the roots are going to be pretty filled in. Oh yeah. So I'm actually going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to put a little bit of soil in each of these cups, and then I'm going to try and pull that apart. Give myself a little bit of room. Ooh, the fungus gnats have started. Ooh. There we go. Hopefully that gives these ones a little bit more room to grow out. I have a feeling these are going to be a little floppy for a second. I'm going to do the same exact thing with the other lettuce leaf. There we go. Ooh, that's even more root bound than the other one was. That was a rock. And what was one is now two. So that is all I wanted to accomplish today. It was actually more than I was expecting, but we now have more flowers started, which I should probably show you where all the seedlings are. And I also have some stories to tell you about some of the things that have been happening with the seedlings. So I will start on this shelf and I'll show you what I've got. So as you just saw, this is the herb tray where I split out the lettuce leaf basil, and then in the back I've got the eggplants, since I didn't start them with my peppers as I should have. But here we are, they're growing out. They should be okay by the time I have to get them outside. But otherwise, the basils are doing really well. I have cut them back a couple times now. And as you can see, the dill is thriving. Up here is actually the Sweet William and the foxglove. I took the single containers of the 4 packs of each of these and I split it out into additional containers so that each of those seedlings had room to grow. And I'm hoping that I can get these plants relatively large, that they do well in my front flower beds. I've always struggled with that in the past, so I'm trying something a little bit different this time around. And then up here, I have my dahlias that I have successfully rooted out, and now I am just getting them to grow out. You can see some of the earlier ones are pretty big now, so that's exciting. But on the other side of the pot, I have the tomato plants that aren't doing the greatest. All of them are part of the Starfighter line. I've already lost the VT16s. I don't have any more of those left. They've all decided that life was too hard. I've also lost the Marcia Starfighter, which I don't think is in the original breeding line of tomatoes, but I had it anyway, so I might as well try. I do have every single one of my primes not doing well, And then in the back there, that's the Dipper Delight. It's not looking the best. The rest of them are up with the other tomatoes because they didn't look bad, and so I didn't feel like I needed to separate them yet. But I'll show you the rest of them as I continue with this seedling tour. So this is the other shelf. Up at the top, you can see all of the coleus. It's getting ridiculous. I have actually topped some of these. This is the tallest shelf I have left for them. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna handle all of these plants. I'm not gonna start hardening them off until probably after this coming weekend. And then they might be spending more time outside than inside, and things might work out a little bit better. But for now, we're just trying to make do with what is happening. Somewhere buried in this, maybe if I could take you around, you can see the Strawflower that I managed to actually successfully grow from my seeds, but that's literally the only one. Down a shelf, these are all of my dwarf tomatoes. They actually still fit on this shelf, which is why they're still here. In here, I believe somewhere is that other Dipper Delight. So I do still have that one, though I don't think the other one is gonna make it, and it looks like I've got some ickiness going on. What is that? That's a wild Fred. I might have to water him a little bit. These, of course, is everything we just started. And then down here are the peppers that still fit on this shelf. I have topped a few of them, so we're doing a little bit of experimenting on how pepper plants do compared to topped and not topped. But I'll take you to the other room, and I have a story to tell you. As you can see here, this is the heat pad that I just put the new starts on. But right here in the past, I had those dahlia tubers that I was taking the cuttings from. As you can tell, they're not here anymore. We had a little bit of an incident that I still struggle with a little bit. I do still have some cuttings that I'm trying to get to root. So those are still here, but I won't be getting any more cuttings off those tubers because they are now outside and in the ground. The story is I came home the other day and there was a whole colony of ants moving into my dahlia tubers. And there is one insect in the whole entire world that I don't do well with, and that's ants. So I had a minor freak out moment. It wasn't pretty. And it ended up with me just chucking all of the remaining dahlia tubers outside. There was a lot of vacuuming. There was a lot of peppermint oil and everything else under the sun to try and clear this whole area out. I don't have anything underneath lights in this room anymore except for these cuttings because I'm giving it a reset to make sure I got all of the ants out. So far, that seems to be the case, but be praying for me because I do not do well with ants. So that is my story of the dahlia tubers and the ants. I do have a new space that I am going to show you though. So this is some new plant space. This is actually my guinea pig cages. I used to have a couple of brothers who lived in this bottom area. Sadly, both of them passed away last year, but it also left an open cage. And because I don't know what happened this year, everything is just taking off like crazy. Everything is huge right now. I don't know if it's just the new fertilizer I'm using or how I'm actually planting out everything. I have very tall plants, and this is my new space for them. So say hello to the tomatoes and the peppers that are too tall for anywhere else. And I do still have some tomatoes that I'm rehabbing right now. This doesn't look good. That is actually the chocolate sprinkle, so I don't know what's going on there. I accidentally had an issue with there. I don't think it's gonna make it. He pretty much got broken, but I was hoping that I could mend him back together. I don't know if that's gonna be the case though. So I'm still struggling a little bit with figuring out if it's just the Starfighter line of tomatoes that I'm having issues with, or if things have been passed to other plants. So we are on this adventure of what could possibly be wrong next. But yeah, as a palette cleanser, we'll see if Charlotte will come and say hi. Probably not. Hold on. That is pretty much where everything is at least inside the house for now. If you want to see what the garden outside looks like, I highly recommend that you go and watch my planting vlog, in which I get all of that cool season planting done. I don't know if the spring is going to be nice enough for some of those plants. I'm hoping that we have a decent spring and I can get a decent crop of bok choy, and I'm doing beets for the first time, so here's to trying something new. We have started to take down the back chain link fence. I'm hoping that I can get my hardy kiwi and then some grapes trellised on what is left. We just need to string some cables across to make that trellis. So at some point we should have kiwis and grapes. I'm excited about that, but I have a whole lot of cleanup that I still need to do in that back area. It's definitely gotten away from me in a way that I am not excited about. But here, moving forward, I am mostly thinking about keeping these plants alive and then starting to harden them off so that they can go out. And I am looking forward to having a full garden and getting into the full swing of the gardening season. So if you want to follow me on my gardening journey as I continue to care for these plants and I get them outside and I start the harvest, subscribe down below, hit the bell to do all the things to get all of the notifications. And I do have an Instagram and Threads account that I do keep a little more up to date, at least not once a week. It's more as things are happening. So you can check me out over there as well. Otherwise, I hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.